if you see a booth, it should be very clear what the purpose is, what the brand is. Can you think of any examples where a booth really told a story, really from the first glance?
So basically, there's a difference between a brand story and a business story.
Okay.
Brand stories we see on exhibition grounds fairly easily. You can see that brands are speaking about what they talk about.
Okay.
But sometimes, if you want to have a more attractive image of your booth, I think business story also really helps.
Welcome to Bira Behind the Scenes, where we uncover and discuss trends in the European exhibition market with some of the most experienced event professionals and marketers. Today we have Mehtab Raza. Mehtab is a relatively new entrant to the industry, but a trained marketer and has a wealth of experience in marketing and product placement that we are very lucky to have at Bira, and our clients are very lucky to have access to. Mehtab comes to us from Pakistan, and she has a very unique story. And so welcome, Mehtab.
Thank you, Corbin. Thank you for having me at the podcast and also at BRA. It's interesting because previously I worked in a similar capacity roles with products, marketing, brands, but this is relatively new for me. This whole background into the industry is new, and how I had to, maneuver myself to link it somehow to my past experiences of brand marketing and then bring it to life into the exhibition industry. That was challenging for sure in the start.
But a lot of our clients are actually, I think they would see themselves as brand marketers. So I think, although you're a new entrant, I really think there's so many dimensions of the industry that I really think you can bring a lot of value quickly, and also a unique perspective, which I hope we'll tease out today. But let's start. Let's just roll back the timeline a little bit. You're from Pakistan, but you're in Czech Republic, and I would argue that there are not very many people who make that transition. So maybe just tell us a little bit about what you were doing in Pakistan, what brought you here, and sort of that transition to Bira.
Okay, so that is something I would like to add on, because after I moved here, after a couple of months, I got to know there is a big community of Pakistanis here in the Czech Republic. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Very well.
So there is. And in terms of my move here to the Czech Republic, if I look back into like 5-10 years ago, I would have never thought about it. But then I became a trailing spouse. So my husband brings me
Happens
here.
to me too. Happened to me too. Happens to the best of us.
Yeah. So that's what brought me here. And with my past experience of marketing,
And just sorry to cut you off. Just talk about your experience, what you were doing exactly as a marketer.
So I've worked with multinational companies, more into product marketing and sales specifically. So it was more like a B2B and a B2C approach that we were following.
What kind of products?
So I've worked in the food and beverage industries.
Okay.
So big names like Nestle, Coca-Cola, Mondelez, all the products that we use every day. We love these brands. And I was working for them, very fortunately, planning how we can work out with new launches, how we can accommodate consumer needs. And this links to how we place those products into the market. So, now we are working in the exhibition industry, and we need to appease the visitors by what we create on the halls. But when we were talking about products, we had to have better displays, more attractive displays.
You're talking in Pakistan?
In Pakistan, in the aisles when, the consumers are walking through a grocery store. So what brings them to the aisle and pick up our product?
So that's almost the exact same goal that you have with an exhibition stand.
So it's similar in a way. Basically, you are working with the same perception of the consumer or the visitor to attract them to where you want them to be.
And tell me maybe about one or two of the campaigns that you ran back, because as I understand from speaking to you, Pakistani market is very competitive and very, very tough. So you really have to nail the marketing, you really have to nail the product market fit.
Yeah.
Tell me about just one of the projects you worked on that you thought you got that really right.
I would like to talk about because we were in we were part of a bigger global picture back in Pakistan. So most of the product launches that we were working on were how the global market positioned them.
So that makes it even more difficult.
Yes, and then you need to adjust that product or maybe just the marketing campaign to bring it to life when you take it to the Pakistani market.
Yep.
And that's how you play with the emotions of your consumers so that they can also feel connected to the brand or the product itself. For example, one of the campaigns we worked at was a campaign that Nestle came up with 7-8 years after it had already launched it, which was a flavored yogurt.
Okay.
Fairly new concept in the Pakistani market. People are not basically inclined towards a flavored yogurt, although it's part of their regular diet.
Yeah.
A normal regular yogurt, of course.
Yes.
But coming up with a flavored yogurt, we need to target the right type of people who would pick it up from the shelves, right? So that time my approach was trying to target kids, people in school, children, or people who do not have access to like a longer time when it comes to having a breakfast. So our marketing campaign was basically trying to target these people.
Yeah.
And then also the placements within the stores were where it's easy grab. So something like that.
So did you work on the creative behind positioning it as well?
Yes. So it has to be in-store positioning, you mean, right?
That and also just the broader creative, broader messaging of the product, like bringing it closer to the consumer.
Not really, because I was part of a bigger team, and it's usually in such companies it's like a top-down approach. But yes, in terms of the placements you have, in terms of the negotiations you can have with the retailers, that's up to you. That's up to you how you maneuver the product into the market once you take it there. But the messaging, it's similar all across, so you don't have much to change.
But again, I think that's so similar to a lot of our clients, where you have a marketing manager that has a product portfolio, they have an overarching brand message, and then they have to bring it to a show floor, and then they have the decision making on where to place it and how to arrange it. But they're working with a set basically a dictated set of parameters, right?
Yeah, that's correct. That's true.
So as a new entrant into the market, but a trained marketer, where I think this experience is basically one-to-one going into this industry, maybe tell us a little bit about you've been on the show circuit now, at least for one round. Give us your impressions as a marketer of some of the trends you're seeing in terms of design, AV, engagement. What are some of the things that you're seeing? Well, let's just start there. What are some of the things you're seeing?
Some things that I see, and I also closely feel that they are really important when it comes to exhibition planning or booth setups, is how you can create an experience for the visitors. So this, I believe, is that the crux of our industry evolving into an experience marketing approach, where you have visitors coming in, but they can engage with your elements, and there is like a clear story that your booth tells about the brand, about the products, about the services they offer. So in terms of engagement, I'm talking about bigger touch screens that you can come click on and see what products you have. Augmented reality is something that I've started seeing a lot on the booths that I've visited recently. It's also live demonstrations going on. Play a game, win a thing, something like that. Some activations that are linked with how their product comes to life. I think that is something you can attract a lot of traffic on the booth through that.
So give me an example of what that would look like an activation on the booth.
So one small thing, it's a really small thing, but
that's good. The really small things are doable.
It's really small thing, but I think it goes a long way, because you would have also seen a lot of booths now have the spin the wheel. Yeah. So it's a small thing, right? You see it at carnivals as well. It's an activation, because once you step onto the booth, you are intrigued to know, what you would be taking home. So one of the potential customers I met at a food show, basically, they had the spin the wheel, but every time you spin it, you could see their different product lines, and it was a bio-related food show. So they do not just tell you that, hey, you got it, you can take it, but they also explain how the product fits into their portfolio. So you get to share information about your product with the visitor, and then take a free sample as well. So the visitor is engaged. They would like to be part of the conversation that you would want to have with your visitors. So I think that's a great approach. Simple trick, but I think it goes a long way.
Yeah, we've had a couple clients who have done the sort of spin the wheel. They've done it more in like a presentation format, which I think makes it really fun. But then like you said, like that's an activation that you kind of have to embed in your booth. And you kind of have to separate, what the purpose of those two different like marketing strategies are.
Yeah.
That's interesting. What about, so that's activations. You talked a little bit about the technology, so the augmented reality. So are you really seeing people put on headsets and jump around?
Yes. So that's something I've seen a lot in an entertainment show I attended last year.
Okay.
So it was about amusement parks, all the rides. Of course, you cannot have it at the floor, but you can have it through the augmented reality. So your visitors can pull up the glasses and they can feel how it would feel to be part of that ride or that experience that you have in reality.
Yeah.
So that is also part of a nice activation, I feel, because your visitor or your potential partner can connect to your service or brand.
But I also think that that's a really nice. You mentioned it's for an entertainment type of client where they're offering a service. They're really offering an experience, and if you need that, then that's the right technology for it. What I would say is for some of our other clients that are in more scientific or packaging, they have very tangible products. I think then you can do more with physical touch and artistic displays to make your product the center of it. But I think it's interesting that you separate out the different industries and what people are marketing by the technology that they use, right?
Yeah, that's correct. But also I feel that technology has evolved to the level where through augmented reality you can also basically feel the product now.
Well,
to see how it fits into the bigger product, because yes, we work with a lot of our customers who make components that then are ultimately part of bigger machinery and stuff like that.
Yes.
So through that technology, if you navigate it in the correct way, you can, I believe, help people understand how your component fits into different other product lines.
Okay. No, I think that's great, because you have to help people see how your component adds value to the overall output that a client wants. So kind of seeing all that and seeing these trends that you're seeing, especially as a marketer with experience in especially product placement, take a step back. What do you think really makes these days have made the difference between a stand that really gets noticed and really pulls your attention versus one that gets ignored? And I would also caveat that and say, you're just kind of a third party. Obviously these booths are focused on or they should be focused on a specific demographic that you are probably not one of. But using your marketing lens and understanding that dynamic, what are some of the things that you're seeing that really makes a difference between one that pops and one that kind of hides?
I would come back to the same point that experience is what brings visitors to your booth.
Okay.
A clear storyline and minimal effort in terms of trying to explain how your product or service can be used by a vast majority. Okay. So you do not have to go all over the board and have an entire business running on a small booth just to show that, we do this as well, we have this technology, everything there. I think rather have it as an open and more inviting space to have more people on the booth.
Okay.
That's something that I still believe should be one of the main reasons, main crux about your marketing strategy on the exhibition grounds.
Okay.
Secondly, I also feel the people at the booth are really important.
Yes. Yes. This is a recurring theme.
That is something we cannot obviously influence as an exhibition stand builder, but that is something that's an advice for people of the customers that we work with, or potential customers we would work with in the future. Because stepping onto the booth, in the first 5 seconds, you would know how the conversation would go from here onwards. If you would like to be there for longer, if not, if the people on the booth seem uninterested,
100%.
it's not a welcoming sight.
Yeah.
Sometimes you would just pass through those booths, not even wanting to be, part of any sort of conversation with them. So that is important as well, I think.
Yeah. And going back to the first point, if you see a booth, it should be very clear what the purpose is, what the brand is. Can you think of any examples where a booth really told a story, really from the first glance, and you really could absorb it? And maybe if you can remember, what were some of the details that you noticed that helped contribute to this story?
So basically, there's a difference between a brand story and a business story.
Okay.
Brand stories we see on exhibition grounds fairly easily. You can see that brands are speaking about what they talk about.
Okay.
But sometimes, if you want to have a more attractive image of your booth, I think business story also really helps.
So tell me the difference between a brand story and a business story.
A brand story basically tells that how our brand was, evolving, what product lines we have, what customers, markets we cater to. That's part of the brand story. But the business story actually tells you why this product or brand came to life in the first start.
Okay.
And that's the business story. That's for the marketers to know and tell. And I have only seen it at one of the booths so far, and they designed it in a way that there was like an aisle that you walk through, and you can see the first product that business ever came up with back in the days, maybe like 50 years ago. And you could see that, why they came up with that. It was basically also a machinery components that they manufacture for biggers, and then they kept on going. Then we evolved into another product line, and then another product line, and then I think in terms of engagement, in terms of telling the story of the business, it's also a really nice way of doing your exhibition planning or your exhibition execution.
I think that's such an important point. But I also see where that discussion would happen on a management level, because you have the sales guys and I have my product portfolio, I need my products on the stand, I need space devoted to this. And I can see management saying oh no, we need to tell the business story. And the sales guys saying oh, my prospects don't care about that. They want to know what the products can do now. But I completely agree with you. I think if you have a why for a company, it really enunciates the authenticity and the drive of the company. And if you can, and the exhibition is the best place to bring that out.
Yeah, but it also depends on the type of company. So
of course,
this can only happen with already fully established big businesses that have been in the industries for many years. People know them, but they don't know their backstory.
Yeah.
But for newer companies coming to the exhibition grounds for the first time, this is a no-go for them.
Yeah, well, I think they could also, but this is kind of what you see in startup land, right?
Yes.
Because you have startups that are oh, this is our mission and this is why we're in existence, and it's more aspirational rather than a real legacy, right?
Yes.
And I think that gets more tenuous, and that's where you get more talented brand marketers to help. So I completely agree with you there. Okay, so maybe that's we have a good idea from you what success looks like. What are some of the things you've seen where you're oof, that doesn't work?
I do not like cramped up booths.
Okay.
If I see there are too many people, a lot going on, I would rather wait it out till it gets a bit emptier so I can be in a way where I can approach someone. I think that's one thing that I would not like to do. And also sometimes you need to figure as a marketer or as a company that's at the exhibition, need to know how to basically portray what you are doing in your business. For example, if you are a small company but you have a lot of technology on the booth, makes no sense. Makes no sense to have so much LED, so much interactive elements, doing this and that, but your business line is really small. So I think that's not something that you should do. One thing that I really liked about recent shows that I visited, mainly in the food sector, was that they had a lot of demonstrations going on. So it was creating an experience for the visitors.
Of course.
And they basically work in a way that even before you enter the booth, you can either smell it. You can smell that, what's cooking there.
Yeah.
So that's also that speaks about, what we do. And when you talk about these LEDs, bigger displays, interactive elements, that's something technology companies should do for sure, because it is closely linked with their portfolios or their product line, services, stuff like that. So
you really think
you need to know what to bring to the show, basically.
But you're also saying something, people should be cognizant of what their product is and then match the technology or match the experience or match the activation to that. And I do think that we see people who really want to do, because there's always a drive to do something better. And I saw, I saw a kinetic, wall at Mobile World, and that looked really cool. But I think what you're saying is, does that really match your value proposition?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I don't like cramped spaces either. That's really tough. Bad lighting, I don't like either.
Yeah, bad lighting, cramped spaces, too much going on the same booth.
Too much going on, like too much text, like blocks of text on graphics.
I think if there's a lot of text, your messaging gets confused.
Yeah.
Your visitor does not know what to talk about, what to be looking forward to on the booth. So sometimes keep it minimum. I think it's still worth it.
Yeah. Actually, that's a really good point. What is the visitor looking forward to on the booth? Give them something to look forward to.
Yeah.
I think that's such an important mantra that if a lot of marketers just thought about that, and maybe in some technical industries you have like technical specs, that like an engineer would look forward to going and seeing, but the delivery has to be there so that people can easily consume it. Okay, so we've been through kind of trends, what's going on the show floors, what you like, what you don't like, what you think is working. Maybe let's wrap it up with talking about some, on the planning, because now you've been running some shows by yourself, and you've been able to give some of this guidance to some of our clients. Maybe give a couple of things that you're seeing in the planning stages where, maybe not mistakes that are being made, but maybe ways that things could be improved, or that a client can do to get a better result out of an organization, an exhibit house like Bira.
I think we covered most of that part already when we talked about what's happening on the trend, what's the new trend, what's good to have, what's okay. But when it comes to meeting your customers before the exhibition goes live and different conversations that you're having with them, I see that there is sometimes too much ambition. They want to do a lot.
Yes. Okay.
And of course, you have to have a structure of what is really needed and what we can do, or what the customer as well as the company can also do on a booth size.
Yeah.
So that's something that's really important to share once you go into the planning stage. If the customer is not aware of it, you need to let them know that, considering the size of the booth or the location of the booth, this is something we recommend, this is something we do not recommend.
Yeah.
So that's also part of how you build your customer, or this is like your customer journey to the exhibition.
Yeah. But so what you're saying is people kind of want to do a lot, but when it gets down to it, they can only do something. And it would be better to say, okay, what do we need? Like, what are the goals?
Yeah.
And then allocate resources that way and do that one thing really, really well. Is that kind of how you're...
Exactly. And I think that's also one of the first questions we ask our new potential customers, that what is your goal that you're bringing to the exhibition?
Yeah.
That's fairly something we are asking in all the conversations, that why are you exhibiting?
Yeah.
So once we know, is it to meet new customers? Yes, then talk about everything you have in your product portfolios. If it's just meetings that you're having with existing clients, potential clients, or partners, then talk about your business stats, and then bring to the exhibition your different offerings that you have already existing.
And potentially new offerings as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
And it also goes to design, right? If you really need to drive new leads, you want to have an open space with maybe stations for demos.
Yeah.
It's easily navigable, very welcoming. If you're more about nurturing existing relationships and maybe adding one or two, then of course you want to invest in the hospitality. Maybe you want to have it a little bit more closed, to have it more exclusivity, meeting rooms, things like this. So I think it's really important that you're teasing out, what is the goal, and then, aligning a design and a concept
Exactly.
to that. Okay. Okay, we're about out of time. Thank you very much, Mehtab. This has been a fantastic discussion, and we're really lucky to have your experience as a trained marketer. It is not so often that people with that type of experience are in this industry, and you really have a unique understanding of what's on the other side. And so we're really interested to hear that from you.
Okay, great.
Thank
Thank you.